Right. All right, so we're gonna roll.
All right.
And so we'll start with question number 1. What is your name and what do you do?
My name is Stacy Hawkinson. I'm I'm a painter. I paint here in Albuquerque. I also have a day job as a med tech, but I do that so I can paint.
All right. What kind of things interested you as a child, and did your family encourage your creativity?
I don't know. I guess as a child, I like to do all the child stuff. Go out, ride your bike, cowboys and Indians. But I like to watch TV a lot. And then it's like I was still pretty young. I started, doing the drawing thing, drawing everything, and they were very encouraging with that. They always supplied me paper. My dad worked. He was a computer programmer. He'd bring home the big sheets of paper. I'd like trace myself out, things like that, and they were very supportive of it. So.
Who or what inspired you artistically?
Who or what? It's probably, because my family's not that artistic, but my aunt. She was an interior designer. Go to her house, and she had this super cool house, mid-century furniture in there. Nice paintings, nice things going on there. I think that's probably where I got the idea, like there's something else besides, just your normal household,
When did you realize you wanted to pursue art?
Didn't really realize that until really when I got out of college. I did a little bit of art, here and there while I was going to school. I took an art class or two, decided that was a lot of work, so I needed to get a job, so I got a degree in something else. And as soon as I got out of that, then I started doing art, making art, and eventually I ended up going back to school. And
all right. And when I ask the question, if you can, again, try to reiterate some question back in your answer. How has your art progressed since it started?
Wow, it's grown the art's changed so much since when I first started. I went out and bought a bunch of watercolors. I was doing these southwestern watercolors, Indians, Pueblos, all that kind of thing. To what I'm doing now, it's very contemporary, very, urban feel to it. It's changed dramatically, yeah.
So what medium do you currently work in?
Well, I call myself a painter, so but that's more of a process. But I'm dealing with a lot more, mostly inkjet prints. I'll do inkjet prints. I'll find the images. On the computer, I'll find old photos, or I'll take stuff now, just with my iPhone, download it on the computer, print those out. And that's the main basis of it right now. Then I'll Photoshop that maybe, or Corel, and add acrylic base on top of that, and see where it goes from there.
So describe your method.
Describe my method. Well, the method, I really have kind of developed a method now, so I'll find the piece that I want to start with, the photo, it's usually a photo. I'll print that out. Right now I'm making 8x10, so that fits nice. I can get that out on one sheet of paper and an inkjet printer. I'll print that out after, getting the lightness that I want, light, contrast, kind of basic, and then that takes a fixative. I'll have to put a fixative on top of that. Let that dry. Then I'll affix that to a piece of masonite, which I've usually already prepared. I'll let that dry, and then I'll start putting this acrylic, it's like an acrylic gel medium on top of it, polyacrylic, which will, whatever's not fixed, it will kind of carry that pigment out. Gives a kind of a ghosty image. You never quite know what you're going to get with it. So.
How did you come up with that?
I came up with that idea basically because I was painting and I started doing this series of silhouettes, and I was painting silhouettes on top of paintings. I thought it'd be really cool to paint on top of a photograph. I didn't have photographs, so I had inkjet prints, and I found they were water soluble. It became a mess, so I started fixing them and getting them ready so I could paint on top of them. And before long, photos, these inkjet prints were what really took over. Yeah. What I really started finding interesting.
So, do you learn technique as you go, or what inspires you to experiment with new techniques?
Yeah, I definitely learn technique as I go. It's like I've kind of see what works. I don't think there's really a book out there that was going to tell you that. You can study basic painting methods or encaustic. A lot of people compare it to encaustic. But yeah, you just have to invent it as you go. And if something it runs too much, well, then you learn to fix it a little bit better. If it doesn't run enough, then you don't do it as much. If you want to get drips, you play with the drips. You learn how to control the drips and the splashes but in the end, you really don't know. You're just kind of directing it that way, and that's why I like it. It's kind of like a surprise in the morning when I come in and see what actually happened.
And the reason why I asked that question is because over at Blackbird earlier,
Yeah.
one of the paintings had a plastic spoon glued to it.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what is that's the kind of thing that really blows me away. So it's really cool, but I would have never thought to do that.
And that one, I think I'd use that spoon to stir up some red paint, and I love the red on it. I'm like, this needs a little. So instead of painting a red dot or whatever, I want to glue that on there. So I did. That works sometimes.
What course or method do you take in coming up with new ideas for your work? Is there a ritual or a strategy, or how do you approach when you're going to make a new piece of work?
I really don't have a process where I do that. I mean, I see I'll look for certain photos, or I'll look for certain, it's just things that hit me. Like lately I'm just starting to do these prints from my iPhone that I just started taking when I was walking on my way home at night. And I loved the way the light was, and I'm like, that'll make a great painting. So it's kind of choosing and picking what you think will work.
Yeah, so you don't sit there and go, today I'm going to do Army or something like that. It's just whatever happens.
No, kind of whatever hits you, yeah.
So what's the favorite piece that you've ever done, and why?
Man, I don't know if I have, that's a hard question. I don't know if I really have a favorite piece I've ever done, but I have definite favorites, but I'm usually obsessed with whatever I'm doing, like right now at the time, But like several years ago, I did these pretty large pieces. They're 5 feet tall by 4 feet wide, which I really have an affection for those. And I had to break those up in the computer, and it was a long, drawn out kind of thing. And I thought those were pretty successful. We still have a feeling for those.
So who do you make? Pardon me. Hold on a second. Okay, who do you make your work for, and describe your ideal collector?
Oh man. Well, I make myself. Honestly, I make my work for myself. I don't really think about who. I don't think so much about a collector, and I'm able to do that a lot of it because I have a job. I have a day job, so I'm not dependent on selling these things. But I also have my internal gut tells me that, if I'm going to be interested in it, that's going to come through in the final work, and they're going to see that. Whereas if I just make something, I think this will look good, somebody might like this, and it gets kind of passé, kind of formulaic, I guess.
Which kind of answers my next question.
Yeah.
is do you create for collectors or groups or for yourself?
For myself. But I tend to have people that buy my work, which I don't sell a lot of work, but those same people kind of that have that same aesthetic tend to come around, and want that. So